Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today what we're talking about is how to catch a pompano here in Florida. You know, pompano are one of the better tasting fish that there is. In fact, I don't keep a lot of fish when I catch them, but pompano is one of those that goes right into the cooler when I catch them. It's one of the very few fish that are really that good. And they're migratory, so they show up here. You know, I'm in the Treasure Coast of Florida. I don't know, October, November-ish. It depends on when the first cold fronts. You know, it's all about water temperature for them and most fish. So they come rolling in maybe October, November, and they're usually gone by, let's say, May, once the water gets too hot for them again. And they're just moving north and south, you know, migrating to find the right temperatures they want. But let's go ahead and talk about them here in a little bit more detail. Okay, how to catch a pompano fishing Florida. Just like anything else, you got to figure out what do they like. Well, pompano like sand. They like sandy places because that's where the food they eat is. They like crabs and shrimp and sand fleas, and that's what they're looking for. So where are you going to find them? Sandy spots. It can be along the beaches. You know, a lot of sand at the beach. But you can also go up in the intercoastal, you know, Indian River, any of these places, any intercoastal area, and just find those sandy cuts. You know, it's those cuts between, you know, the various flats that you have. You might have a sandy, kind of grassy, sandy flat over here and a sandy, grassy flat over there. Well, you want to fish the cut in between them. Mud flats is another place, you know, say there's a mud flat over here. It's kind of more muddy. But on this side, it's more sandy. So you got the muddy, grassy kind of place over here, and then you got the sandy place over here. Again, another great place because they're going to be rooting around in the sand and in the mud trying to find little invertebrates to eat. Little marine worms, little fish and crabs and shrimp and whatever to eat. So really the key is sand. If you don't see any sand, you're probably not going to catch too many of these. I mean, sometimes they'll be out on the grass flats where there's not a lot of sand. But even then, I tend to catch them in those sandy potholes. So sand is a big deal if you want to catch pompano. All right. What temperatures do they like? See, this is very important. This is what I was talking about a second ago. Basically, the low 60s to the mid 70s. You know, I'm going to call it 62 to 75. Okay? So let's just say you got that 12, 13 degree water temperature that you need to find, or they're not going to be there. So if it's got to be somewhere in between there, or you're not catching them, at least not catching many. So like I said, they're going to migrate north to find cold water when it gets too hot, and they're going to migrate south to warm up when it gets too cold. You know, pretty simple, just like everything else does. Now, what do they eat? Well, I just covered it here a second ago. I think the reason that they're so good to eat is because they're such clean eaters. If you really look at what they eat, they basically live off crustaceans. So it's crabs and sand fleas and shrimp and little small fish. You know, you can fish with them with clams. They like clams a lot. So they're very clean eaters, and I think that's why their meat is so nice and mild and flaky to eat. But let's say you're fishing off the beach. This is the way most people catch them anyways, all right? So this is the underwater topography of your usual beach, right? So right here's your shoreline. You're standing here. Then you got a little trough, you know, that the waves make. And then you have that flat part. We call it the impact zone. And then you got this first sandbar. Sometimes there's two sandbars, but this is a sandbar right there. So the wave comes from deeper water typically. There's a wave. That's why this is the impact zone. It churns up everything right in here. And you're going to find your pompano somewhere in between there. I've caught them literally 2 feet offshore in this trough, you know, off the beach. But some place between this sandbar and your feet is where you're going to find these fish. You know, and again, you'll go to the store and you just ask for a pompano rig, and whatever bait and tackle shop you're at, they're going to give you one. it's going to be something where it's set up with for a weight on the bottom, and it's going to have 2 or 3 dropper loops off of it with little beads and floaty things and hooks, obviously. And that's really your best bet as far as catching them. I like using a banana jig to catch them when I fish the intercoastal for them, bouncing on the bottom. But you can find out more of this information right on our website. It's www.fishyourassoff.com. You know, there's a how-to section. We got pro tips and techniques. We got all kinds of different links there to teach you more about how to catch pompano and whatever else, actually. But I think that's about it for today. So until next time, we'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.